Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. So what we got here is actually a remake of something we did a really long time ago. We found an older version of this piece and decided to remix it with some new techniques that we learned along our crochet journey. I always love revisiting old pieces and comparing just how much I've learned and changed over the years. Does anyone else do that? Anyways, I'm talking way too much, so I'm really happy to share this piece with you guys. So without further ado, for this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a skein of Lion Brand's Pound of Love in the color Oxford Grey. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There's a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Watch to the end of the video to learn how to enter this week's giveaway. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they will be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we are first going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're going to grab our 5mm hook and start off by doing some measuring. The first measurement that we're going to make is going to be from the base of your neck over to the other side of the base of your neck. So what I'm going to do is start off by making a chain of 33, or that comes out to 8 inches or 20 centimeters. And also grab your stitch markers because we're going to be using those in the next clip. And now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is block off that last chain. Do a chain up of 1. We're going to grab our stitch marker and then insert it into that extra chain that we just made for ourselves. And then from here, we're going to do just a little bit more measuring, which now we're going to measure from the base of our neck down to where we want the bottom of our point to be. So what I'm going to do is start off by making a chain of 24, or that comes out to 6 inches or 15 centimeters. And now that we have this portion of our chain, just like in the last clip, we're going to do the same thing. So block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1, go ahead and grab your stitch marker and insert it into that extra chain. And this is going to be our middle point for the collar, so I am using a different color stitch marker as well. But once we have this, from the point of our collar back up to our base, we're going to make a chain of that measurement, which should be the same as the previous measurement. So mine's going to be another chain of 24, or 6 inches or 15 centimeters. And now that we have that last portion of our chain, just like before, we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1, grab our last stitch marker and insert it into that extra chain up of 1. And from here, we're going to slip stitch it into the first chain that we made. So we're going to run our thumb along one side of our chain, just making sure that it's not twisted. And then when we have made our way all the way down, we're going to slip stitch into that first chain that we made. So go ahead and insert your hook into that first chain. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through everything. So this is what things should be looking like when our collar is all sectioned off. And what we're going to do from here is actually go in with a row of single crochet, but only along the bottom portion where our point is going to be. We're going to leave this back half alone so that once we go in with the back and the hood is going to be seamlessly flowing down into the back. But once we have this, all we're going to do is do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and we're going to make sure that we're working towards the middle point of our collar, and we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every chain that we have until we get to that middle stitch marker. Then I'll meet you guys back so that we can do our increase of 3 single crochets into there. Once we made our way all the way down with our row of single crochets to our middle point stitch marker, we're just going to take this guy out, and then into that stitch we're going to go in with an increase of 3 single crochets. So we're going to go in with 1 into that same chain, 2, and then just 1 more, 3 single crochets. Go ahead and grab your stitch marker and then insert it back into that second single crochet that we made, because this is our middle point now. And then from here, go ahead and put 1 single crochet into every chain, going all the way back up until we hit our stitch marker, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so I have just finished up going in with my first row of single crochet along the collar, and this next part is going to be up to you guys. I will be doing a chain up of 1 and cut, and then reattaching my hook onto this side so that I can get a certain type of ribbing look going in with my second back loop single crochet row, but if you guys don't want to do that, go ahead and just do a chain of 1 and then do back loop single crochets going back down, remembering to do an increase into that middle point, bring it on back up, and then do a chain up of 1 and cut. But if you guys are following what I'm doing, I'm going to do a chain up of 1 and cut, show you guys where I'm exactly going to be inserting my hook, and then I'll let you guys go from there. So if you guys are doing what I'm doing, I have done my chain up of 1 and cut on this side. I've inserted my hook into the first stitch that I had on this side, making sure we were going in through that back loop, and I've inserted my yarn onto my hook. From here, we're going to pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Once we have this, we're just going to make sure we're going into that back loop with our first and the rest single crochets. So go ahead and insert your hook into that first back loop and single crochet. Let's do the next one together, into that first back loop and single crochet. And keep doing this going all the way down, and then once we hit our middle point, remember that we're doing an increase of 3 back loop single crochets, and then we're going to bring it on back down with more back loop single crochets until we get to the end of this row. Once we get there, go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. And this is what we should have once we have 2 rows connected into our collar. But once we have this, we can actually set this off to the side because we're going to get started on the body portion. So the first thing we're going to want to do is actually measure from our underarm down to where we want the bottom of this top to be, keeping in mind that we will have a decent sized bottom border as well. So I have already went ahead and measured mine out. I'm going to start off by making a chain of 14, or that comes out to 3 inches or 7 centimeters, and mine will be a little bit more on the crop side. So if you guys want yours to be longer, go ahead and add more chains. Now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1, and then from here we're going to insert our hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook with a single crochet. And then from here we're just going to go all the way down, putting 1 single crochet into every chain that we have, but we will meet back at the last one because we're going to be doing an increase of 2 into there. So we have made it all the way back down with our row of single crochets, but we did leave that last chain, and what we're going to do from here is go in with an increase of 2 single crochets. So into that last chain we're going to go in with 1, and then into that same last chain 2 single crochets, and that is our increase. From here, what we're going to do to start off every row is just do a chain up of 1. For this side, we're going to flip and then start off by doing an increase of 2 back loop single crochets just into that first stitch. So go ahead and insert your hook into that first back loop. We're going to go in with 1 single crochet, and then going into that same back loop there is 2 single crochet. And from here, just make your way all the way down, putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. The bottom that we're making our way down to is the bottom of the top, so we're going to keep that blunt. So just do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then bring it on back down. And I'll meet you guys back once we have just 1 stitch left so that we can do our increase together again just one more time. And now that we have made our way all the way back down, we have left our last back loop so that we can go into there with our single crochet increase of 2 together. So go ahead and go into that back loop with 1 back loop single crochet, and then 2 back loop single crochet. And this is going to remain the same for the rest of our underarm portion. We're just going to keep working this until this reaches the front of our body, while maintaining doing our increases on one side and keeping the bottom end blunt. And when we meet each other back, we just want to make sure that we're meeting each other back along the increase side, because from here we're just going to make a chain that shoots straight up for our shoulder chunk. So I'm just going to do a few more rows, and I'll meet you guys back to let you guys know how many rows I went in with and also my measurements. Alright, so we are back with our super tiny underarm portion, and mine ended up being a total of 5 rows, or that's just about 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters. But once we have here, we're going to want to put this up to ourselves, and then from this point, go ahead and measure up to where we want the chain for our shoulder portion to be, and I have already measured mine out. I'm going to start off by making a chain of 6 inches or 15 centimeters, or that comes out to 27 chains. And once we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is just block off that last chain, do an extra chain up of 1, and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're just going to go in with a single crochet. And from here, since this is our shoulder portion, we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every chain, and then once we make our way all the way down to this underarm portion, we're going to be going in with back loop single crochets. And then once we make our way down to the end, just keep going with rows of back loop single crochets until we get a shoulder chunk portion that we want. And we just want to make sure that this reaches right where our collar ends, because from there we're just going to attach it and then work straight into there. And while doing this shoulder portion, we just want to make sure that when we are meeting each other back, we are meeting each other along the top portion of our shoulder so that we can just go straight into connecting it into the collar. But I will meet you guys back once we have all of those rows done so that I can let you guys know how many rows I went in with and my measurements as well. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with our shoulder portion. And in total, I ended up having 11 rows, and that is including my underarm portion as well. And I also have a base total of 2.5 inches or 7 centimeters. But once when I have this, I'm now ready to attach it into my collar. We all should have ended along the top half like this. Now we can go ahead and reintroduce this collar. And all we're going to do from here is just make sure that we're inserting our hook into the corner stitch that we have into the collar, and then also into the working yarn that we have right here. We're just going to slip stitch those together. So all I'm going to do is insert my hook into this corner stitch, also insert my working yarn onto my hook and pull through. And then once we have that, it is nice and attached, and we're just going to slip stitch into that next stitch that we have going into the collar so that we can get started on the next row. So going into the next stitch that we have into the collar, we're going to slip stitch into there, yarn over, pull through everything, and then from here we can now start to work into the body. And working into the body, into the 2 stitches that's right next to the collar, we're always going to be doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets, at least along this side of the collar. So let's just get that started off together. Into that first back loop, we're going to insert our hook into there, yarn over, pull through, into that next back loop, yarn over, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook. Go ahead and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And from here, go ahead and continue going all the way down, putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the end, do a chain up of 1, flip our work, bring it on back down, and then I'll meet you guys back once when we just have 2 stitches left into this row that's right next to our collar, and then we'll do another decrease together, and then I'll let you guys do the rest on your own. And now that we have worked our way all the way back down and we have left our last 2 stitches, we're going to be doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets into those. So into the second to last back loop, we're going to insert our hook into there, yarn over, pull through, into that last back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. And this row is now almost finished up. What we're going to do to close it off is slip stitch it into that next stitch that we have into our base. So go ahead and slip stitch it into there, and now it's all finished up. Once we have this, we are going to slip stitch it into that next stitch that we have into the base, flip our work, and then repeat. So make sure that we're doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets into the 2 stitches that we have that's right next to the base, and then put 1 back loop single crochet into all the other stitches. And then I'll meet you guys back once we make our way all the way back down to our point. Alright, so we are back and we have made our way all the way down to our middle stitch. And once we get to that middle stitch where our stitch marker is coming out of, that is going to be a row where we don't do any increases or decreases, and this is going to be the same whether if you guys are working down or working up towards it. So since I'm working down, I'm just going to take out my stitch marker, slip stitch into that middle stitch, and then just put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then we're going to bring it all the way back up, but we are going to leave that last stitch, just 1, so that we can do an increase of 2 back loop single crochets together. And now that we've made our way all the way back down with our row of back loop single crochets, now we're going to get started on the other side of our v-neck. And this is going to be the same thing that we did on this side, but instead of doing a decrease of 2, we're going to be doing an increase of 2 into that last stitch that we have that's right next to the collar. So into that last stitch that we have, we're going to insert our hook into that first back loop with 1 single crochet. And now that we have that 1, we're going to be doing 1 more into that same back loop. There is 2. Once we have all that finished up, what we're going to do is slip stitch it into that next stitch that we have into the base. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to start off the next row together and let you guys go from there. So just to start off the next row, we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch and flip our work. And into the 1 stitch that we have that's right next to the base, we're going to insert our hook into that first back loop with 1 single crochet, and then into that same back loop, another single crochet. And then from here, we're just going to be putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch, going all the way down, and basically just do the same thing, just remembering to do an increase of 2 back loop single crochets into the stitch that's right next to the base. We're going to keep doing that, going all the way down until we don't have any more stitches left to go into, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with the increased side of our body portion where we were increasing while going up into the other side of our v-neck. And what we're going to do from here is just do a little shoulder chunk, and it's actually going to be the same amount of rows that we did for this shoulder portion over here. So since we all on the previous side met up at the top, we should all be at the top. If not, then that's completely fine. You guys can just continue on with doing a chain out of 1, and then just go in with back loop single crochet rows, no increases and no decreases, all the way up until we have the same amount of rows that we have over here. So all I'm going to do, just like if we were at the bottom, is just do a chain out of 1 and then go in with 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch that we have, and then I'll meet you guys back once we have the same amount of rows so that we can go in with our underarm portion. Alright, so we are back and we are almost finished up with the front panel, and all we have to do from here is just go in with a little underarm portion, which is actually going to be the same amount of rows and same amount of numbers that we did for the other underarm portion. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is insert our stitch marker into the spot where we need to stop. So the easiest way to do that is just remember the amount of chains that we ended up making for the shoulder portion on the other side, and then from the top over here, go ahead and count down that many stitches and insert our stitch marker into that stitch. And then what we're going to do from here is just work our way up with back loop single crochets, leaving the last 2 because we're going to be doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets into there. So all we're going to do is do a chain up of 1, work our way down, then I'll meet you guys back once we have just 2 stitches left. And now that we have worked our way all the way down, we have left the last 2 stitches, and all we're going to do is go in with a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. So go ahead and insert your hook into that second to last back loop, yarn over, pull through, into that last back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And then from here we're just going to decrease into every row until we have the same amount of rows for our underarm portion as we have on the other side. So we're just going to get this next row started off with each other by doing a chain up of 1. Once we flipped our work just into those first 2 back loops, we're going to insert our hook, pull through into that next back loop, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 3. And then we're just going to be putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch going all the way down, and we're going to repeat that until we have the same amount of rows as this underarm portion over here, and then I will do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, we are all back and we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our front panel. And next we're going to go in with our back, which is going to be very, very similar to this piece. We're all going to start off by making the same exact measurements and stitches as we did for this portion over here. So go ahead and remake your underarm portion and your shoulder portion until we're ready to insert it into the collar, and then I will meet you guys back. So just go ahead and make everything exactly the same. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with our underarm and our shoulder portion that should match the front panel, and now we're going to be inserting our work into the collar so that we can start working along the back piece. But where we're going to be inserting our work is actually not going to be straight into the chain just yet. We're going to be inserting it into our second single crochet row that we did along the chain, and that's just so that we can have the same amount of rows right here, so we don't have an extra 2 rows for our shoulder portion for the back, if that makes sense. But what we're going to do is take our work, and then we're going to indicate where that second single crochet row is. If it's easier for you, we can actually flip it around so that we see where the ribbing is. And then into this first row that we have right here, here's 1, here's 2, we're going to be inserting it into this first row. And from here, go ahead and slip stitch. So we're just going to yarn over, pull through everything, and now it's nice and attached. And then we're going to flip our work. And then we're going to slip stitch into that second single crochet row that we have into the collar. So go ahead and insert your hook into that side single crochet row, yarn over, pull through everything, and then from here we can now start working into the body portion that we have, which is just going in with 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the bottom, do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then bring it on back up with more back loop single crochets. But since we're going along the back, we don't have to be doing any increases or decreases. We're just going to be slip stitching into the chain to close off that row, slip stitch into the next chain, flip our work, and then bring it on back down, putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. And we're just going to keep going back and forth like that until we have a solid block, until we reach our second single crochet row that we have over here. So just like how we inserted into the second single crochet row on this side, we're going to end on the second single crochet row on this side. And then from there, I'll meet you guys back just so I can remind you guys that we're going to be going in with our shoulder portion and then our underarm, and then we can be all finished up with our back. So I'll meet you guys back in just after a few rows. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our back piece that is connected to our chain, and what we're going to do from here is just do back loop single crochet rows so that it matches our shoulder portion along the other side and along the front panel. And that's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Just when we get to the ends of each of our rows, just do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. Make sure that you guys have the same amount of rows as we have on the other side or the front, and I will meet you guys back. Alright, so we are all done with our shoulder chunk that we have right here, and if you guys can tell, I did do a chain up of 1 and cut because I ended up having the same amount of rows that I had on the other side and also for the front panel as well. I have a total of 5 per each of these shoulder portions, so I wanted to make sure that that was even. So I did a chain up of 1 and cut, but since we are going to have to do this, we are going to need to insert our hook into a different spot when it comes to doing our underarm portion. So all I did from here was the same way that we did the front portion. We counted the same amount of chains that we did from the top, counted down those same amount of stitches, and then inserted our stitch marker. But when we are going in with our underarm portion, just for this last bit, we're going to be inserting our hook into that stitch that our stitch marker is into, making sure we're going in through the back loop. And we're going to start off with our decrease here and then go in with our back loop single crochets. And we're only going through it this way because we, 1, want to keep up with the same amount of rows that we have for the shoulder portion, and 2, we also need to keep up with the ribbing as well. If you guys don't want to do a chain up of 1 and cut and have some extra tail sweep in, I completely understand. Y'all are more than welcome to come back down with a row of back loop single crochets and then do our underarm portion the same way that we've been doing. But just keep in mind that you guys will have just 1 extra row when we are seaming up our shoulders. But since I did do it this way, I am now going to turn my work. And I already have my hook into that first back loop, which is where my stitch marker is into. Next, I'm going to be inserting my yarn onto my hook, and I'm going to place that onto my hook, and I'm going to pull through. From here, I'm going to do a chain up of 1, and then this is just going to count as our first single crochet when we're working our way back up, so just remember that this extra stitch is here. But we are going to start off with a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets since we are along the top. So just like before, we're going to insert a hook into that next back loop, yarn over, pull through, into the back loop right after that, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then from here, everything else is going to be exactly the same. We're just going to make our way all the way down, putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and work our way back down with more back loop single crochets, leaving the last 2 stitches. And for this first row, remember that this chain up of 1 space counts as 1. We're going to do a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets, and we're just going to keep going back and forth like that until we end up having the same amount of rows as all of our other underarm pieces, and then we are going to do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we'll be done with this main portion of our piece. So I'll meet you guys back once we have that all finished up. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with the other with our other underarm portion right here, and we are actually all finished up with both the front panel and the back panel, and the next thing we're going to go in with is the bottom band. So getting started on the bottom border, it actually doesn't matter if you guys are starting with the front or the back panel. I have actually already finished my front panel because they're going to be done exactly the same way. But all we're first going to do is insert our hook into one of the corner loops, insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Once we have this, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into each of our side single crochet rows, going all the way down. So let's just do the first few together. Into this first side single crochet row, we're going to insert a hook into that loop that we have on top. It may be a little difficult to find a decent loop, but go ahead and just find one and commit to it. But once when we get here, we're just going to single crochet. And then into our next side single crochet row, go ahead and insert your hook into there and single crochet. Go ahead and put 1 single crochet into every side single crochet row, going all the way down, and I'll meet you guys back at this corner. And now that we have made our way all the way across with our single crochet row, now we're just going to go in with our bottom border. So from here, we're going to make a chain that we want the length of our bottom border to be. And I want mine to be just about 1.5 inches to 4 centimeters. So I'm going to start off by making a chain of 8. Once when I have my chain, I'm going to block off that last chain and do a chain up of 3. That counts as a double crochet. And then from here, we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and then double crochet into that chain that we blocked off, or the 4th chain from our hook. And from here, we're just going to double crochet like normal. Let's just do 1 together really quickly. We're going to prepare for a double crochet, go into that next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to keep putting 1 double crochet into every chain, going all the way down. So we have just finished up going in with our first row of our double crochet, just putting one into every chain, and now we're going to need to connect it into the base. So how we are going to do that is actually counting up the next 2 stitches that we have into the base. So we're going to count up 1, count up 2, and then we're going to slip stitch into that second stitch to close off this row. And then once we have this, we're going to be slip stitching up the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, there's 2, we are going to flip our work, and then we're going to be going in with 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch, going all the way down. So we're going to prepare for a back loop double crochet. Go ahead and insert your hook into that first back loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And we're just going to keep doing this, going all the way down. And then once we make our way down to the end, go ahead and do a chain up of 3, flip our work, and then make our way back down with more back loop double crochets. And then we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we just did. We're going to keep doing this, going all the way down until we don't have any more stitches left to go into, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so we are back, and we have just finished up going in with the bottom border for our back panel, and we're going to do the same thing for our front panel. Mine is actually all finished up, but just as a recap, all we're going to be doing is going in with the row of single crochet, putting 1 single crochet into every side single crochet row that we have, going all the way across. We're going to make a chain the length that we want our bottom band to be. If you guys want one of them to be longer or shorter than the other, that's totally fine, but I did a chain out of 8. We're going to go in with a row of double crochet, and then just do back loop double crochets going all the way down until we don't have any more stitches left, and then I will meet you guys back once we have both of these done. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with both of our bottom bands, and now I can go in with our cap sleeve. The first thing we're going to have to do though is actually seam up the shoulder pieces that we have, and we're actually going to be doing this on both sides, but we're just going to be focusing on one for now. So the first thing we're going to do is insert our hook into the loops that we have that's closest to our collar, and we do want to make sure that our collar is flipped wrong side out. And by wrong side out, I mean, if you guys want to take a look, we should have ribbing along one side of our collar. That one needs to be faced down just like this, so that once we flip it right side out, all of our seams are along the inside. But once when we get here, we're going to make sure that we're inserting our hook into the first available loop we have into the front panel that's right next to the collar. Then also into the next available loop that we have into the back panel that is also right next to our collar, and then we're going to insert our yarn. So what we're going to do is just insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and we're just going to seam it up by doing a single crochet, making sure we're going in through the front and the back panel at the same time. So what we're going to do from here is just do a chain up of 1 to secure, and then from here we're going to go into a bunch of side single crochet rows. So go ahead and insert your hook into the next side single crochet row into the front panel, into the next side single crochet row into the back panel. Try and make sure that they are in the same row along both panels, but once we have that, we're going to go ahead and single crochet. Let's do the next one together. Insert your hook into the next side single crochet row into the front panel, insert your hook into the next side single crochet row into the back panel, and then single crochet. We're just going to keep doing this going all the way down until we don't have any more loops left. And then we're going to do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back once when our work is flipped right side out. Alright, so we are back, and we have just finished up seaming our shoulders, and what we're going to do next is go in with our right cap sleeve, and we are all going to get started on the right, making sure that our work is flipped right side out, because the ribbing that we're going to do actually isn't the same on both sides, so we all want to make sure that we're starting on the same so that it looks the way that we want it to look. So getting started on the right, we're going to make sure that the V-neck portion is faced up towards us, and then from here we're going to insert our hook into this corner that we have for this underarm portion, insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and then from here, the first row that we're going to do is just going to be a row of single crochet going all the way up and around our armhole that we have. And then once we get to the end, we're actually going to do a chain up of 1 and cut. And then we're going to be reinserting our hook into this side that we just inserted our hook into. And that's so that we can get this really fine ribbing that we have right here. So go ahead and go in with your first row of single crochets, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with our first row of our cap sleeve, and that was just a row of single crochet, and we're going to get started on our second row together. So I have cut and tied for my first row, and I have made my way back all the way over to this first stitch that we did along the front side of our front panel, making sure that everything is flipped right side out and faced up towards us. I have inserted my hook into this first back loop, and the first stitch that I actually inserted my hook into was the chain up of 1 space that we did when we first started this off. That chain up of 1 is always going to count as our first stitch. So now that my hook is into there, I'm going to insert my yarn onto my hook and pull through. We're going to do a chain up of 1. This is our first single crochet. But once we have that, we are now going to go in with rows of single crochets to half doubles to doubles to try and get it to even out just a little bit. But into the 2 stitches that we have coming up and into the third and second to last stitch along the other side, we're going to be doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets, and we're doing that so that this portion right here can stay blunt, otherwise it'll start to move outwards, but we don't want that. So how we're going to start this off is insert our hook into that first back loop, and then also I'm going to show you guys how to weave in your ends as we go, since we are going to be doing a decent amount of cutting and tying as well. We're going to insert our hook into that first back loop. We're going to grab our tail end and just place it on top of the loop that we just inserted our hook into. From here we're going to yarn over and pull through, and this is a decrease, so we're also going to be inserting our hook into that next back loop, making sure that our tail end is still hanging out over the stitches that we just inserted our hook into. We're going to yarn over, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook. From here we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. That is our decrease of 2 back loop single crochets, and that is also us weaving in our tail end at the same time. And from here, just until your tail end is completely hidden, we're going to make sure that this is staying over that stitch that we're inserting our hook into. So let's just do the next few together. For this part, it's actually going to be up to you guys. I'm going to let you guys know what my numbers are, but this part you guys can eyeball where it goes from single to half double to double. That's completely up to you. But from here, since I have my decrease of 2 back loop single crochets, I'm actually going to go in with a total of 5 more back loop single crochets. And I am back with my 5 extra back loop single crochets, not counting my decrease of 2 single crochets. And then once we have this, as you guys can see, I was hiding my tail end as well. I'm going to go in with 10 back loop half double crochets. So we're going to prepare for a half double. Go ahead and insert your hook into that next back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And I am going to go in with 10 of those guys. Okay, and now that we have our 10 back loop half double crochets all finished up, before we go in with our double crochets, we're just going to insert stitch markers onto the other side so that we know where to stop our double crochets once we get to this back part, and then go in with our half doubles and then go in with our singles. So just as a really quick tip, when we are inserting our stitch markers in through the back piece, when it comes to our single crochets, we're going to make sure that we are counting the amount of stitches that we went into and not the amount of stitches that we ended up having, because we did have a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets, and we also have that chain up of 1 space as well. So what I'm going to be doing is counting up this first stitch right here. This is going to be equivalent to the chain up of 1 that we did on the other side. The next 2, because this is going to be for the back loop decrease of 2 single crochets, and then from here minus those first 3, we're going to go in with the same amount of single crochets that we went in with. So I went in with a total of 5 back loop single crochets. So from here I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to insert my first stitch marker into there. This is going to be where my single crochets start. And then, like I said a couple seconds ago, I went in with 10 back loop half double crochets. So from here I'm going to count up 10 stitches. Once we have counted that out, go ahead and insert that stitch marker. And from where we're at, we can actually go in with back loop double crochets, just putting 1 into every stitch until we hit our next stitch marker. Once we hit this stitch marker, we're going to go in with our back loop half double crochets, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can finish off with our back loop single crochets, just to make sure that there's no confusion. And then from there, we're just going to keep repeating this, but I'll meet you guys back once we get there, just so we can talk about this just a little bit more. Alright, so we are back, and we have made our way all the way down with our back loop double crochets and our back loop half double crochets, and we have left our single crochet section to do. I did take out my stitch marker, but from here I'm just going to go in with my singles. So on the other side I ended up having a total of 5 back loop singles, so that's what I'm going to start off with over here. And then however many single crochets that we started off with, we should end up having a total of 3 left into this row. So I went in with my 5 back loop single crochets, and like I said in the previous clip, we should end up having a total of 3 single crochets left to go into, in which I have. So into the third and second to last, we're going to go in with a decrease of 2 back loop singles. So go ahead and insert your hook into that next back loop, pull through, into the back loop right after that, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, and then we have 1 stitch left, and that last stitch is just going to be a back loop single crochet, and this is going to be the same as our chain up of 1 that we did on the other side. But either way, what we're going to do from here is yarn over, pull through, do a chain up of 1 and cut. And we are now all finished up going in with our first row where we did our singles to half doubles to doubles. And from here, we're actually just going to keep repeating this until we get a little cap that we want. It could go over your shoulder, a little bit longer, whatever you guys want, or you guys can cut it here as well. The only tip that I have for you guys is when you guys are starting off, make sure that you guys are inserting your hook into this first back loop that we have, and the first back loop is going to be into that chain up of 1 space that we always start off with. And then we're going to do a chain up of 1 and then start off with a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. And then where the decrease comes in, we're going to be subtracting from our single crochet section. So just as an example, in the previous row, I had a total of 5 back loop single crochets, and then I went in with my half doubles and my doubles. For this row, I'm going to go in with 4 back loop single crochets, and then my same amount of half doubles, same amount of doubles. And then on the other side, we're going to do the same thing that we did. So go ahead and count out the same amount of stitches that we needed for our single crochet and half double, and then continue doing that going all the way down, making sure that we're doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets into the third and second to last, and then just doing 1 back loop single crochet into that last. And we're just going to keep doing that going all the way down until we have the cap size that we need, and then we will be all done. So I'll meet you guys back once I have mine all finished up to let you guys know how many rows I went in with, and then also just how to start off our next one because it's going to be pretty similar. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with our cap that is along the right side of our piece, and I ended up having a total of 5 rows, and that is including that first regular single crochet row that we did as well. And we have a bunch of tail ends that we're going to weave in together in just a little bit, but I am going to talk to you guys about how we're going to just get started on the left side because the numbers and all the stitches should be exactly the same. But like I said a couple clips ago, the ribbing that we have isn't reversible, so we're going to need to start this off looking at the back of our work, but still making sure that our ribbing for our collar is faced right side up. So when we're getting started on this other side, all we're going to do is make sure that we're looking at the back. We're going to insert our hook still into this corner and then go in with basically the same thing. We're just starting in a different spot so that we get the same ribbing along both. But once we're finished with both of our sides, we can actually just clean up what we have just finished up and then go in with our tie, and then we'll work on our hood. Alright, so now that both of our cap sleeves is all finished up, what we're going to do next is just clean up our sides that we have right here. And that's going to be fairly easy. I'm just going to be showing you guys how we're going to be weaving in all of our ends as we go. And then our other end on the same side should be fairly clean, so that's just going to be a single crochet going all the way down. But going into one of these messier corners, what we're going to do is insert our hook into the last corner stitch that we have into our cap sleeve, because we're going to be working our way down towards the bottom. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And then from here we should have a decent amount of side rows to go into. Like I said in the previous clip, I have 5 rows for my cap sleeve, so I'm going to go in with 5 single crochets. So working into the first side row that I have right here, this is my first single crochet. I'm going to insert my hook into that side single crochet, and then I'm just going to make sure that all of my tail ends is laying on top of the loop that I just inserted my hook into, and then from here, go ahead and single crochet. Let's do the next one together. This is my next side row, so I'm going to insert my hook into that loop that we have at the edge, making sure that my tail ends are laying on top of the loop that we just inserted our hook into, and single crochet. And that's basically going to be it. Let's just do the next one together just one more time. This is my next side row, insert my hook into there, making sure that all my tail ends are laying on top of the loop, and then single crochet. And we are just going to keep doing this going all the way down until we hit the bottom of our work, and then just do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then do the same thing that we just did for all 4 of our sides that we have. Alright, so we have just made our way to all 4 sides that we have, and we have cleaned everything up with a row of single crochet. And the next thing we're going to have to do is just insert our hook into this corner stitch that we have that's right underneath the underarm, and then make a chain that is long enough so that it can tie to the other side right underneath our underarm. And just to let you guys know, I ended up making a chain of 50, or that comes out to 11 inches or 28 centimeters, and I did that for all 4 of the corners that I have. And now that we have that all finished up, we can get started on our hood. Alright, so getting started on the hood, it's actually going to get started in a somewhat similar of a way as we did our cap sleeve, because they're going to be worked into 3 parts, and the 2 parts on the side we want the same ribbing that we want for the cap sleeve, so we're going to have to start them in different spots, but it's going to be done pretty much the exact same way. So we're first going to want to figure out where we want our hood to start. I have inserted my first stitch marker into the 15th stitch from this middle stitch, and then I just inserted my hook into both sides because I want it to be even. And then we're also going to want to figure out where we want our side detail to be for our hood. So from here, we're going to want to see where we want our ribbing to end along the back, and counting from this corner that we have, working in towards the back into the chain, I inserted my stitch marker into the 8th chain that we have, and did the same thing on the other side as well, but you guys can go ahead and adjust to whatever size you guys need from there. But we are all going to get started on the right side first, and since we're getting started on the right side, we are going to want to make sure that our work is faced right side out, but we are going to get started with the back portion first. So all I'm going to do is flip my work so that we're taking a look at the back. And then, let's find my hook. I'm going to insert my hook into that chain that my stitch marker is into. Once when my hook is into that chain, what we're going to do is insert our yarn onto our hook and start off by doing a chain up of 3. That counts as a double. And then from here, we're going to go in, putting 1 double crochet into every chain that we have. So since I inserted my stitch marker into the 8th chain, I should have a total of 7 more double crochets since this counts as my first, and then I will meet you guys once when we are ready to go into the collar portion. So now that we've gone in with our double crochets going into the back portion, we are now ready to go into the collar, and just into this first row until we hit our stitch marker, we're going to be working into the front loops. So all that's going to be, I'm going to take out this guy because this is just a stitch marker for me. I'm going to prepare for double crochet, insert my hook into that front loop that we have, into that first single crochet, and then double crochet. Let's do the next one together. Prepare for a double, go into that next front loop with a double crochet. We're just going to keep doing this until we hit our next stitch marker. Alright, so we have just gone in with our first row when it comes to the right side of our hood, and next we're going to go into the next 3 rows doing an increase along this back half and a decrease along this front half. So let's just get that started off together. So getting started on our second row, what we're going to do is insert our hook into this first chain up of 3 that we have along the back because we need our ribbing to all look the same. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and start off by doing a chain up of 3. Into this next stitch that we have, we're going to go in with an increase of 2 back loop double crochets. So we're going to prepare for a double, go into that back loop with 1 double crochet, into that same back loop with 2 double crochet. And then from here, we're going to be putting 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch that we have, but we are going to leave the last 3 that we have in this row so that we can do a decrease of 2 back loop double crochets into the third and second to last, and then just do a regular back loop double crochet into that last. So I'll meet you guys back once we hit that point. Alright, so we are back and we have our last 3 stitches into this row, so let's do our decrease together. We're going to prepare for double, go into that third to last back loop, pull through, second to last back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and then into that last back loop, go in with a regular back loop double crochet, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then do the same thing that we just did here 2 more times. So once we're done, we're going to have a total of 4 rows. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up where we did our increases along the back and our decreases along the front. And we have a total of 4 rows, and that is including our first row where we did absolutely nothing. And then from here, we're just going to continue on doing a pattern of just putting 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch, chain up of 1 and cut, reattach our hook into this corner, bring it on back down with more back loop double crochets until we get the height of the hood that we need. So pretty simple. I'll meet you guys back once when I have my heights so that I can let you guys know how many rows I went in with, the measurements that I have, and then also how we can get started on the other side as well. Alright, so we are back. We have just finished up going in with one side of our hood. It looks a little nuts right now, but it's all going to come together, I promise. I ended up having a total of 27 rows, and the measurement for that is a total of 14 inches or 36 centimeters. But once when we have this, we're actually going to do the same thing that we did here, but on the other side. And like I said in the previous clip, it's not going to have the same ribbing along both sides, so we're going to have to start it on a different spot. So for this side, we started in the back. So working on the left side, making sure that everything is flipped right side out, we're going to be going into the stitch marker that we have along the front of the collar. And just for this first row, we're going to be going into the front loops only. So going into that stitch that our stitch marker is into, we're going to be inserting our hook into that front loop. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 3. This counts as our first double crochet. And from here all the way until we hit this back stitch that we have right here, we're going to be going in with 1 front loop double crochet into each. So go ahead and prepare for a double crochet. Insert your hook into that front loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And we're going to keep doing this going all the way down until we hit our back chain, and then once we hit that, we're just going to be going in with 1 double crochet into each of those stitches, since this is just a chain, until we hit our stitch marker. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then I'll meet you guys back. And now that we've just gotten in with our first row of our hood along the left side, we're going to do the next 3 rows similarly to how we did the other side, but since we started in the back, we started off with an increase and ended with a decrease. Since we're starting off at the front, we're going to start with a decrease. So we're going to insert our hook into that 3rd chain that we have into our first chain up of 3 that we started the previous row off with. Insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and do another chain up of 3. This counts as a double crochet. Once when we have that, we are going to be going in with a decrease of 2 back loop double crochets into the next 2 stitches. So go ahead and prepare for a double crochet. Insert your hook into that back loop, pull through, back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2. And then from here, we're going to go all the way down, putting 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch until we have just 2 stitches left along this side, because we're going to go in with a increase of 2 back loop double crochets into the second to last, and then just a regular double crochet into that last. So we are back, and we have left our last 2 stitches into this row, and into the second to last, we're going to go in with an increase. So go ahead and prepare for a double crochet. We're going to insert our hook into that back loop with 1 double crochet, and then also go in with just 1 more back loop double crochet, just like that. And then into that last stitch, prepare for a double, go into that back loop with just 1 double crochet, do a chain up of 1, cut, and then we're going to do the next 2 rows the same way that we just did this one, and I'll meet you guys back once we have a total of 4 rows. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with our 4 rows, and our previous 3 rows were the ones where we were doing our decreases in the front and our increases in the back. And once we have this, we're just going to do the same thing that we did for the other side, which is inserting our hook into the first chain up of 3 that we have, do a chain up of 3, do back loop double crochets once into every stitch, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then just keep repeating like that until we end up having the same amount of rows as this other side. And then I will meet you guys back so that we can go in with the middle portion in the back and then also clean up the entire hood. Alright, so we have just finished up going in with both of our panels for our hood, and now we're going to go into this middle strip that we're going to have that comes up and over. So the first thing that we're going to have to do, I have actually already done on my own. It's just going to be a row of single crochet going from the front corner of one of our panels. It doesn't quite matter which one we go into first, but we're just going to go in with a row of single crochet along the top and also going all the way down towards the back while cleaning up the edges that we have as well. And this is the same way that we have cleaned up our other edges, so you guys should already know how to do this. It just may get a little bit thicker since we have a handful of tail ends to try to cover up, but that is completely fine. It'll all be hidden. But once when we get here, we're actually going to do the same thing on the other side, but we are not going to do a chain up of 1 and cut. Once when we get into the base, we're just going to start working in with more back loop single crochets, just going back and forth until we don't have any more loops left to go into along the back chain. So I'm just going to show you guys where we're going to insert our hook. We're going to take our other front panel, insert our hook into that front corner that we have. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and we're going to start off by putting 1 single crochet into every stitch that we have, working back towards the back of our piece, and then I'll meet you guys back at this corner so that we can start to work our way down our side double crochets. And now that we've made our way all the way down to this corner, what we're going to do is just go into each of our side double crochets, putting 2 singles into each. So into this first side double, here is 1, here is 2, and we're just going to do the next one together just so I can remind you guys how we're going to be hiding in our tail ends at the same time. So this is my next side half double. Go ahead and go in there, making sure that our tail end is laying on top of the loop that we just inserted our hook into. And there's 1 single, into that same side double, there's 2 single. And then just keep doing that, going all the way down. We're going to be slip stitching into the next stitch that we have into the base, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so we have just made our way all the way down with our single crochet row where we were cleaning up our tail ends along the inside as well. And now we are along the back chain. We have slip stitched into that next chain that we had, and then into the next chain or next stitch, whatever we're going to call it. We're going to slip stitch into there as well, just to work our way up to the next row. We're going to flip our work and then into the back of the hood that we just went down on. And we're going to now go back up with back loop single crochets, going all the way up around the corner and then to this outside corner of our hood from here. And then from right here, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then do more back loop single crochets. And then we're just going to keep going back and forth just like this until we actually don't have any more chains or stitches, whatever you guys want to call it, left into this back piece. And then we're going to seam up what we're currently working on into the single crochet that we did along the other side. So I will meet you guys back once we have all that finished up. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up going all the way down with our rows of back loop single crochets so that it matches the back panel that we have right here, and we are now ready to attach it onto the other side of our hood. It looks a little crazy, but it'll all work out. The first thing that we're going to do is sandwich the 2 corners that we have together, and this is going to be the same if you guys end on the bottom or on the top like me. We're just going to sandwich these 2 corners. Not these two corners, making sure that we're sandwiching the correct corners together. And then we're also going to want to kind of flip it in a way to make sure that the seam is going to be along the inside of our hood because we want it to be hidden. So once when it is in the correct position, all we're going to do with that is just insert our hook into the corner loop of our back panel. Since my hook is already in through the front panel, I'm just going to yarn over and pull through. And then from here, we're just going to go all the way down, seaming everything up. So just to do the first few together, we're going to go into the first available loop into the front panel, into the next available loop into the back panel, and single crochet. From here, next available loop into the front panel, next available loop into the back panel, and single crochet. And we're just going to keep doing this, going all the way down until we don't have any more stitches left to go into. And we're just going to keep doing this, going all the way down until we don't have any more stitches left to go into. Do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we will meet each other back so that we can do one of the last things that we have to do, which is actually just clean up the outside of our hood. Alright, so we are back and we have just finished up seaming our hood, and this is what things are looking like. It's looking pretty cool, but a little shaggy. So the next thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of those ends, but we're going to do that with a single crochet just to clean it all up. So what we are going to be doing is inserting our hook into the next available stitch that we have into the collar. So as you guys can see along this side, and it doesn't matter what side we go into first, but as you guys can see here, our first double crochet is coming out of this stitch right here into the collar. So we're going to insert our hook into the next available stitch and insert our yarn. Once when we have inserted our yarn, we are going to pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and then from here just work our way all the way around, putting 2 single crochets into each side double crochet. And then once we get up to the top, we're going to be working into a bunch of side single crochet rows. Just put 1 single crochet into there. Just make our way all the way around, making sure that we are hiding our tail ends as we go. And then we're going to be slip stitching into the next available stitch that we have into the other side of our collar. We're actually just going to do the first few single crochets together just so we get the hang of it, because it could feel a little weird because the tail ends are going to make it a little bit fatter, a little bulkier, a little squishier. So what we're going to do is go into this first side double crochet. We're going to go in with 1 single crochet first, making sure that we're holding our tail end over the loop that we just inserted our hook into. So there's 1 single crochet, and then into that same side double, there is 2 single crochets. From there, we're going to insert our hook into the next side double crochet, making sure that we are now holding 2 tail ends over our hook. And there is 1, and there's 2 single crochets, and that is it. It's going to actually keep accumulating, and it will eventually get a decent size, decently fatter as we go, but just try to pull your single crochets as tightly as you can just so that it doesn't look too bulky. And then go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut once we reach the other end, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alrighty, so we have just made our way around with our single crochet row where we have hidden in all of our tail ends, and things are looking mighty fine now. So we are actually all done. The last thing that we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. Our ends are woven in and our cute little hoodie is all done. I absolutely adore this piece. It's such a great base piece to customize. You can make it long, you can seam up the sides, add sleeves, whatever you guys want. And I'm really excited to see what you guys actually do with it. There's a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. And enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite yarn brand. Good luck to everyone who enters. Also, if you like this piece, go ahead and give it a thumbs up because believe it or not, it really helps. And be sure to share us on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook, links down below. Link to our Etsy page is down there too if you want to buy this piece or any other piece on the channel. And be sure to favorite the shop so you don't miss out on new patterns and exclusive deals. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.